What's going on there, folks? Good evening. It is the Earthmaster back here on this Wednesday night. It is July 19th, 2023. Obviously, I didn't win the Powerball winning numbers tonight, so I am still here. It's about 10:51 p.m. California time, but I heard somebody won out here in California. One person won that big over $1 billion jackpot here in California. Lucky winner. So if you're listening, please help out. All right, what do we got going on out here across the earthquake 3D globe? We do have a 5.9, a rather large earthquake out here in between the Morocco Strait. Now, nothing, absolutely nothing showing up here across the USGS map. And this is actually actually a rather large earthquake for this area. Notice that 5.9 showing up there in that little channel. Far as seismograph stations go, not going to pick it up because this was about an hour and a half to 2 hours or so ago. So we're going to go over here to the EMSC model and see what's going on out here, because I find it rather odd that the USGS did not even pick up on that rather large earthquake out there in the off the coast of Morocco there. That's going to be this earthquake right... Well, actually, it looks north of there. Let's see what we got. Definitely seeing a little cluster. There's... where's a 5.9 that's supposedly out there? Let's see. Last 1 hour? No, last 24 hours. So, what do we got going on out here? 5.9. See that showing up there? That was... 8:44 p.m. So just a short time ago there, about 3 or 4 hours ago, in this area. Now it's a little weird, a little odd, but EMSC might be throwing out some false earthquakes, and I'm not fond of that. I'm really not fond of the false earthquake reporting there on the Earthquake 3D globe. So I may have to scratch them from the Earthquake 3D globe. We'll see though. Indonesia, 5.1. That's obviously a legit earthquake. Kermadec Islands, 2 hours ago, 5.0. Okay, I could see that. I'm looking for the 5.9 there. Where is it? Did you guys see it? Red Islands. That's a long ways, a long ways from Morocco. Indonesia. Okay, so what's going on here? We have some false earthquake reporting being provided here by the EMSC model, and as you know, I'm all about facts here on this channel, so I may have to scratch them off of this Earthquake 3D globe, because as you can see, that's what we have, a 5.9 at 8:44 p.m., 5 kilometers deep, being reported by the EMSC model here. Within that strait, and it looks like, you know, it kind of looks like it's showing up there a little bit. Hold on, let's just zoom in, double check before I throw these guys under the bus. I just don't see that large earthquake that they're talking about. Maybe is it a 4-pointer? Kind of hard to tell. Ah, goodness. It just never fails. Let's go magnitude 4.0 and above. Okay, see what we have here. Last couple hours ago. Kermadec Islands, offshore El Salvador. Bolivia. Now South America region. Red Islands. Okay, so we are officially going to scratch the Earthquake 3D globe of the EMSC, because obviously we are not seeing any legit earthquake that says that there's a 5.9 occurring there off the coast of Morocco at 8:44 my time. So there will be an immediate adjustment here with the EMSC model here being removed, just because it's literally, look at that. That is a 5.9 earthquake. That is a large earthquake, and it's not being mentioned out here across even the agency that's reporting it on the globe. So goodbye, EMSC. We'll have to cover this a little bit later. Hopefully they can get their updates and whatnot a little bit more appropriate, because that is not acceptable. There was no 5.9 apparently, and That's it. That's it. That's the end of the story. Let's look at legit earthquake activity that is occurring out here across the west coast here. Getting a little swarm of activity, obviously, across the Cobb Mountain area of California. This is a very active region, right? Volcanic activity well below the surface, but not in volcanic activity that you would think. This is the calpine hydrothermal operations that are taking advantage of the heated surface below by injecting raw sewage to create some steam out there, which in returns creates energy to power homes out here across the Bay Area of Northern California. So there's a whole process involved in that whole disgusting process there. Check it out. Calpine hydrothermal operations. At the same time, many earthquakes have been produced, and large ones as well that have produced lawsuits. All right, backing out of here, Northern California, the rest of the area pretty quiet. Pacific Northwest has been showing slightly elevated conditions here. A couple 2s and some 1s out here across the area, and I believe that is due to the fact that we are seeing heightened activity there across the Cascadia subduction zone. Now, only 8 epicenters there today, but if we were to check out yesterday's time frame, we see a little bit more elevated conditions there. 148 epicenters there across the Cascadia, and prior to that, probably roughly about the same there around the Washington area. So heightened uptick in what's going on below the surface, affecting areas around the surface areas here. As you can see, couple 1s and 2s going on here across the area of Washington. Some outside of the, well, actually this earthquake looks right around the Mount Rainier area, 1.3. 1.3 for kilometers there too. Imagine that. Nothing major going on out there, but still a little bit of smaller earthquake activity occurring there. All right, Southern California has been our hotspot of movement here recently. After, I would say, a couple weeks of quiet activity starting to catch up out here. Seen some movement here across the Garlock Fault shear zone and also the Ridgecrest area. Nothing major going on across the Los Angeles area for now, following last night's 3-pointers, which magically got downgraded to a 2.8 and a 2.7. So, if that's what you guys felt. You guys felt some very small microquakes. You guys have very sensitive nerves there if you're feeling those smaller quakes, according to the USGS. Goodness. Some movement there across the San Jacinto Fault Zone as well. Nothing going on here across the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault. We're continuing to watch that. Out here across the desert of Nevada, 4.6. And a couple other 3s from this morning. Haven't really seen any uptick there, though. Following that movement, Yellowstone National Park, out around the Hebgen Lake area, Hebgen Lake Estates. That's where I live. Just kidding. It just sounds kind of fancy, right? I live over here at the Hebgen Lake Estates. All right, I'm sure those are pretty fancy homes out there, something I could never afford. Either way, a 0.3. Let's look at the Yellowstone seismograph stations here. That is a error. Looks like there, showing up there across the Mammoth Fault area. The earthquake in question here that showed up here pretty nicely, that is that 4-pointer that showed up there, 4.6 there in Nevada, coming up on about 24 hours now. That's it's probably going to drop off the map, but that is the signature that you're seeing there across a couple seismograph stations there. This up here, that's just, I think it's just an error. Not for sure what's going on, but it's not reading anything that's measurable or appropriately measurable. That just looks like interference. But far as Yellowstone activity goes, no major earthquake swarms, no magma movement, because that would be obviously visible across a wide area of the park, right? You can't just have a little bit of magma flowing underneath the lake and not see it showing up here across the area. So right now, magma movement out of the question. Not even happening. Western Texas, Oklahoma, things kind of getting a little bit quieter out here over the past 24 hours. We're starting to see a shift back here of the momentum well over here to the western Pacific plate. That teeter-totter effect swinging back over here, while areas around the North American plate and the South America region quiet down. So let's go ahead and look at here the Western Pacific. As we zoom in here across the area, the latest quake of 4.4 into the east coast of Japan, just off the coast there of Tokyo, 48 kilometers deep. Notice some 4s and 5s being kicked up here across the area today as well. We did see a little bit of deeper movement quakes here, including a 5.0 and also a 4.9 back into the Tonga area throughout the afternoon, getting that deeper movement going out here that puts further strain up here across the rest of the plate boundary. We did see a pretty shallow earthquake triggering up here back before the plate boundary, a 5.0, 10 kilometers deep. That is just shy of the plate boundary there. That's kind of a little concerning because that is in an area, I would say roughly about here southward into New Zealand, is primed for some larger scale activity. The EMSC model, man, I hate to delete them from the globe. I'm hoping, I'm going to give them a day to adjust that. But just know that that 5.9 is not a legit earthquake. They're not even showing it on their own site. And I don't see any signs of that earthquake at all. So I'll give them a day. I don't really want to just use the USGS on here because it's very vital to show some of the smaller quakes. So we'll forgive one mistake. Out here across North Island, New Zealand, looks like some older movement. And let's go see what's going on here. A little bit of activity here across the White Island. Volcano activity, it looks like it remains at level 2. There has been a little bit of steam and gas emissions there across this volcano. That is from the GeoNet servers. But as far as earthquake activity goes, let's go ahead and check out the all magnitudes here. 32 minutes ago, 2.2, 2.1. 4.3. Now this is way up north here into the Kermadec Trench area. 2.4 outside of Wellington. It looks like mostly smaller microquakes. We would know, obviously, by looking at these earthquake drums if there was something major going on. That's kind of why I chime into the earthquake drums here across New Zealand for some movement. This here is almost a day or so ago from that 3-pointer. But over the last few hours, as you can see, steady sailing. All right, the Alaska region did see a little bit of larger scale movement up here across the Rat Islands area. Now this one is not volcanic related. It is very deep here, 117 kilometers there for the 5.0 into the Aleutian Trench. This is a major subduction zone. Look at it. Guess where that plate's going? Guess where the Pacific plate is going? Now, it's not sailing over the North American plate. It's being subducted underneath this area. That's why there's so many volcanoes across this area. And large earthquakes. So we'll watch this region here. Deeper earthquake movement does normally trigger some surface earthquake activity. We'll watch that in the coming hours and days. Let's see. Mariana Trench, seen a 4.7. That earthquake fairly new. 35 kilometers deep. Across the rest of the globe here, Java Trench looks pretty quiet. We'll go ahead and chime in here. The globe. Cluster of earthquake movement there across Indonesia, as noted here on the USGS map as well. But awfully quiet conditions prevailing across the rest of the plate boundary now. It's just... the 5.9 bugs me on the globe because that's not a legit earthquake. So just know that. I don't like it. And that's kind of why I've removed the GeoNet servers here from the globe, because they produce these false phantom earthquakes. They could receive a 5-pointer locally and claim that it's a 7-pointer up here across the Mariana Trench, and that is not cool. That's some false information being reported by some agencies out there. So I'm not fond of it. You've all, I think most of you folks know I'm not fond of fake information out there, whether it's volcanic or any fear mongering. So the 5.9 up here on the globe is a little, it's going to bug me, but I'm going to forgive it for the night and see how it plays out tomorrow. It doesn't really look like it's a legit earthquake. Space weather activity now. That's another thing here. We can't really say there's a massive solar flare and pretend like, you can't really fear monger the sun, because the sun is obvious to everyone here on Earth, right? The graphs and everything like that. You can't say that, oh my gosh, there was a X70 flare here today on the sun. Look at that. And, you know, graphs, we would know about it. The electrical grid would probably go down. So, no, you can't really fearmonger the sun. I guess you could, you know. Everyone could fearmonger anything. They could say a frog. The green frog is, okay, I'm not even going to go on that. Shut me up now while I'm ahead. All right, looking at the space weather activity, though, C flare movement. Notice that dropping off here since the last M flare here about last night or so. We had an M 3.8. Notice that decline. We're starting to drift down. So let's see what's going on with the flares. We are still currently, though, underneath the influx of the proton event here over the past 3 days now. That's been an elevated event here following the M flare activity, long duration M flare across the southwestern limb of the sun 3 days ago. Remember that? A huge explosion out there, massive, one of the most intense M flares that I've seen ever. And that is still having an effect across the upper levels of the Earth, mostly at the polar regions, as you can see there. That could continue, like I said, for a couple days. If it continues for a week or more, I'll be surprised. But this should mellow out here, hopefully tomorrow. We'll definitely keep an eye on that. As far as flaring goes, UV filter array, yeah, there's the calm conditions out here. We're not seeing any bright areas, but look at this area across the northeastern limb of the sun. That is a huge area. We're talking massive. That's going to be 3379 out here. That has a train of sunspots following it out there, so we'll continue to watch that. Very large sunspot, one of the more larger sunspots that I've seen in a while. Right now, we do have this sunspot currently facing us. We do have a couple areas that are worth watching within this core. Notice a new sunspot growth right here. It's very small, but it's catching up here across the area, and that could pose some further flaring within this sunspot that is directly facing Earth. It is squarely lined up with Earth, you know, across the equator here of the sun. Most of the time you're looking at the northern or the southern hemisphere of sunspots, but this one's lined up perfectly with the Earth, and that is one to watch here in the coming days. Right now, 99% chance for a C flare, M flare at 50, X flare at 15% chance, and of course the proton event is continuing as we speak. A lot of folks complaining about headaches, complaining about irritability. I am just, I don't know how I felt here over the past couple days. I've been irritable, but that's probably because it's been 100 and something over the past month here in California, and I don't like the heat. But it does affect people, very sensitive people. I think it's affected Missy Mimi's slightly. But these proton events do have effect on animals, nature, and whatnot. So just keep an eye on that. That's continuing. All right, weather forecast over the next couple days or so. It looks like some movement here across the western Oklahoma, eastern Colorado area. Now, is that tonight? That looks like that's day one, but it's hard to tell because it's probably after midnight there, right? It's after midnight across the areas of this region, so sometimes it's hard to... it shows Thursday right here, so that's probably for tomorrow. Thunderstorm forecast, obviously for tomorrow. There you go. Looks like some activity there across the Colorado region. And we're left here, obviously we're left with some heat out here in California. I want to double check here the symbols and just see if we have any cooling trends out here across the west coast. I honestly don't think we do. Notice the influx here of the high pressure dome. A little bit of cooling going on up there around the Great Lakes right now. But let's see what we got. A little bit of a cooling trend, it looks like, here across the Pacific Northwest. Come around Monday, July 24th. But, yeah. That's just, it's hard to say, folks. All I know is the forecast is probably something you guys don't want to see because, well, we have some major heat coming up here across the California region. You guys, I don't want to make you see it, but it's worth seeing. Check out Friday here, 4 p.m. Look at this. No, this isn't Death Valley up here in Northern Cal. Death Valley sits down here. But it could probably feel like it. Look at that, 116, 115 in Chico come Friday. On Saturday, it's supposed to tone down slightly, 1 or 2 degrees, but goodness. Notice that south breeze kicking up here slightly. We're not looking at any dominant north wind. No dominant dry spell, so this is going to be a little humid event once again with that moisture. We got a lot of rice fields out here. We got a lot of irrigation going full swing, and that creates a little mini Gulf Coast out here as far as the humidity goes. Sunday, a little bit cooler. Next week, say if we go to Monday or Wednesday, I should say, still above 100. We're not looking at any 90s for the foreseeable future. We're looking at just hundreds, 105, 110 or so, at least the next 10 days. There's that little cooling trend going on here across the area, but man, I'm done. I am done with the hot weather. I'm ready for some fall temperatures, and that's it. I don't even care if we get record-breaking cold out here across the western coast. We need to put an end to this. All right, that's my 2 cents, and that's my story, and I think I'm sticking to it. Nothing major going on out here in the buoy mode, right? A little bit of hurricane activity out there in the mid-Atlantic area. No major tsunamis, no major upswelling of anything going on out here. No doom and gloom and no fear-mongering here on this channel. All right, we'll catch you guys back out here a little bit later tomorrow. Well, and later, I guess early tomorrow morning. Unless something major goes on. But it looks like we're advancing here as expected. You know, remember, when things kick up here across the Eastern Pacific, elevated activity here across California, we watch for some further movement for relief out here across this area. And that's kind of what we're seeing right now. Elevated movement across Papua New Guinea, Western Pacific and adjacent plates. Relief out here across the Eastern Pacific for now. We're not seeing any major activity. Looks a lot quieter than what it did last night. Have a good night, folks. Stay safe out there. And we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow morning, Thursday. Peace out.